here. Good to see all of you. All right, everybody, good afternoon and welcome to this first session that we are having about the GMI GMC degree pathway program. I'm very happy to have Peter Gainey and Chris from JMC Academy join us today. Peter and I and Aditya had been in talks about this partnership for a while, and we are very happy to have made this happen this year. And we are very excited for you all to get to know more about the two institutions, the kind of programs and opportunities that you all can have joining these programs together, and also know more about how you can pursue, move on from one college to the other, should you wish to do that. We also have Chris with us today, who heads the music division at the Melbourne campus of JMC Academy. And thank you both wonderfully. I know it's pretty late in the evening for you, and that's the time difference we work with when we are in India and Australia, but super glad to make this happen. So maybe I can invite Peter to first start the session and talk more about JMC and share more details and information.
Sure. Thanks very much, Megha. Yeah, we're really happy to be here, and we've been I think we were planning the partnership for at least 3 years, maybe 4. Yeah, I think it could have been 4.
Yeah, we discount the COVID time that didn't exist in our lives.
The only thing that really slowed us up is that, both sides were at various times were working on improving our courses. And so when we just about get it settled, one of us would go ahead and make some changes. And I know Chris was very guilty of that along the way, so making major changes to the JMC program. So just to tell you a bit about JMC, I'll start with an overview of the courses. So JMC started as an audio engineering and sound production school. And I think on the next slide or the slide past that, it says that, it was established in 1982. And so it was established by John Martin Cass. That's where JMC comes from, John Martin Cass. And Martin was an audio engineer in Sydney with his own production studio. So it started as a commercial production studio, and it grew into a school. So, and from that foundation in audio, one of the next moves naturally was into contemporary music performance, courses in contemporary music performance. But you can see here that we've got, you could really split these bachelor degrees into 2 groups. There's the visual digital media, so film and television production, animation, game design, and also visual communications, so digital design on the one side, and then on the other side, everything, other courses, the core courses that are related to sound. So the audio engineering, the contemporary music, the music production, songwriting, and also entertainment business management has its roots in the music industry. Not so interesting for you is the digital, the screen and media certificate 3, which leads into our bachelor degrees. But given that anybody who comes through this pathway is going to go directly into trimester 4 of the bachelor degree, that's not so much of interest. But the Master of Creative Industries potentially is, because quite a few of our international students are either planning to continue on to the master's degree or may come back later and do the Master of Creative Industries. So another element there that is really interesting, and I think Chris is going to talk a little bit about it a little later, is the interconnectedness, the integration of these, and the opportunities that come through delivering this whole suite of courses, which are all related around the entertainment industry. So started in 1982. We've got around 2,200 students across the 3 campuses, which are in 3 different cities there, Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Most of our students are local students, Australian students. Before COVID hit in 2020, in 2019, we had about 260 international students in those various degrees. But most popular with our internationals are the music programs, the audio program, and the film and television production program. And if anybody's not familiar with the east coast of Australia, there's a rather unattractive map that gives you a sense of where the campuses are located, where the cities are located. I'm down here in, well, Chris and I are both in Melbourne, way down south, even though if you can see the backdrop behind me here, that's the Brisbane campus, but unfortunately, I'm not actually there. So the 3 campuses, the same courses are delivered on each campus. So it's actually possible to move, between cities and campuses, and we do have that from time to time, not that often. It's a great idea, and it's great to know that you can do it, but once you settle into life in a city and get established and go through the expense of getting accommodation and things like that, then it becomes less likely that students will do that. The building on the bottom left hand there is the Sydney campus, or part of the Sydney campus. You can't see all of the building. The one on the top left is actually that wall with the colourful artwork there. That's my office. That's where I'm sitting right now. So I won't tell you much about the cities. You probably know Sydney is obviously the most famous of the cities. It's also where our main campus is. It's sort of head office, but in terms of facilities and the buildings and the space, Melbourne and Brisbane are basically exactly the same. But of course, Sydney, known for those iconic images there, Bondi Beach, the Opera House, and the Harbour Bridge. I'm just wondering, the giraffe is not native to Australia, by the way. Probably would have been better if we had a koala or a kangaroo jumping up there. And that's Melbourne. Melbourne is different. It's a cooler climate down here, not so cold, really compared to a lot of cities in the world, but a bit cooler, and I guess has more of an indoor culture. And it's the sporting capital of Australia as well. Now, Brisbane, which is closer to Chris's heart because he's from up in that way, famous for this cry, this tagline, beautiful one day, perfect the next. Fantastic, warm, pretty much all year round. See there, the average high temperature in winter is 21 degrees. And I definitely enjoy going up to the Brisbane campus, especially in winter. So again, facilities are pretty much the same on each campus. We're in a brand new building here in Melbourne now, but our old building, which is directly behind us, is currently being completely renovated. Chris would know what music facilities are going back into that newly renovated campus. The audio studios, I think 4 or 5 on each campus. And each of the campuses has, you'll see in that top right-hand corner, the SSL duality desk there, which is, so one. And I think, Chris, you could probably tell us, I think audio students go into that studio from trimester 4.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Yeah, the audio students do go into use the SSL desk from around about trimester 3 and trimester 4. And as usual for audio students, there's a series of stages they basically go through learning, upgrading their expertise and various different desks. Because the SSL duality desks are like, they're the state of the art. It looks like you're flying a spaceship when you're driving one of them. They're pretty incredible things. 64 channel desk essentially, and they're pretty amazing. So yeah, for audio students, it's one of the best desks you can actually ever work on, let alone be able to actually use one while you're a student. So it's pretty good.
Thanks, Chris. We're fairly international, I think. We have some really interesting study tours that we run each year. Then that's domestic students and international students. Where I don't think we've had a study tour where there wasn't at least one of the international students participate. Specifically for music students, we have, and until COVID hit, we had a program where we took music, performance songwriting and audio students to the Conservatorium Haarlem in the Netherlands for a songwriting camp, but we also launched a really interesting program in Japan for music and songwriting students, which was a J-pop study tour that we took students to and worked with the Tokyo School of Music and the Osaka School of Music on learning about J-pop and writing and recording an original J-pop song over there, which was really, really interesting. That was one of Chris's ideas. I won't talk, due to the sort of limited time, I won't talk too much about the alumni stories. I had planned to, but I think we're, once I get carried away talking about JMC, I lose track of time. But this is a really interesting one. An animation television production graduate Scott, who ended up in New York working for HBO as the senior art director on Game of Thrones, which everybody would know these days. Here are just some of the audio graduate stories. On the left there, Edo was an Indonesian student who studied audio engineering, went back to Indonesia, set up a commercial studio, got involved in sound for film, and ended up becoming a major film producer in Indonesia. So I think that's a sort of a bit of an illustration of, again, the interconnectedness, the development of ideas in closely related fields that, while students are still enrolled here and studying at JMC, and then sort of diverging into that area later on. Sound for games is just huge now, growth area, shortage of experienced technicians to work in the field. And this guy, Aldo, graduated from JMC in audio, and he's now the audio director at Ubisoft in Canada, which creates all of those really well-known games. This is a student here from Thailand who came to Melbourne to study songwriting with Chris, and we didn't know that she was already extremely popular in Thailand. She wanted to learn more about songwriting and writing songs in English and for a broader market than just Thailand. And she's, absolutely huge these days and still in contact with us. Milan, who's an Indian graduate and is now, there's a very interesting story on our news blog on the JMC website about his path and his journey through JMC and then back into India and a lot of the work that he's been doing. But I might just pull that up there. I have a video to play if we've got time. And then Chris is going to play a video as well.
Please go ahead, Peter, with the video.
So let me know if there's any issue seeing or hearing this.
I'd say it took me 2 weeks until I felt like I sort of belong here.
It took me years to find something that I actually enjoyed, and I stumbled upon JMC in my entertainment business course.
I heard JMC the first time in Indonesia after a friend from a student expert.
It had been like just a week since I've been in Australia. I was like new to everything. And going into a new place with different people around me was a bit intense. But everyone was really nice.
Australia being the one furthest from Sweden was the coolest option.
I came into JMC with a very set idea of what my career should or would look like. And having opportunities to collaborate with other people in other industries showed me that there's so many different options.
I was a very easygoing person to begin with, so I just said hi to literally everyone.
It just looked like something really fun, something more hands-on rather than purely academic.
I want something that can give me a really big connection to the industry.
There was a good balance of practical and theoretical subjects.
I could really feel like at home, where I was surrounded by like-minded people who made me feel like I was definitely in the right place.
You get to find people that you really click with, and you learn so much about just people, talking to different people from different walks of life.
They would say, oh, I have this music and I'm interested in making a music video, and would you be able to make one with me? And like, yeah. And that's where things just started to get a lot bigger for me.
The lecturers are industry professionals, so not only do they lecture you, but they also tell you about what it's like out there in the industry.
I thought I know a lot about music, but after I study here, it turns out there's a lot of things that I didn't know.
It was just there. People were willing to help. So a mix of nervousness and excitement, I suppose.
Just totally opened my eyes to like a new culture, and that's such an asset to have as a musician, to realize that.
I was very culturally exposed to a lot of people, to a lot of events, to a lot of food especially.
One of my favorite things that I love in Sydney would be the food.
Obviously, with the weather being this nice and having sun every day, it's something I feel very grateful for, especially moving from cold Europe.
Easy to get a job and really give me exposure to the industry.
To be honest, JMC has really helped me a lot. I keep reflecting and seeing that musically I've grown so much.
After finishing, I mean, you just realize what a luxury to have that sort of everyday life where you get to just fully focus on all these creative things.
People get to chase their craft and explore their craft and expand their craft in the way that they want to, as long as they just put themselves out there.
Okay, did that transmit okay? I didn't hear anybody say otherwise, so that's good. We're going to jump across to Chris now, so I'll just bring his slides up if you just bear with me. Okay.
Thanks, Peter. So yeah, I can't see your slides yet. There we go.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Let me
We're nearly there. You went back to the beginning. That's all right. I'm going to while we're finding those slides. So what I'm basically going to talk about is the course itself, the music course specifically, because that's what I do. I'm the head of music here in Melbourne, but also about what JMC represents as an opportunity for you guys coming from GMI and having the opportunity of taking this pathway, so that you're actually not necessarily doing the full bachelor course, but getting credit for what you've already completed at GMI too. So let's start off first with some partnerships, and JMC's quite proud of the industry partnerships that it has, and there's quite a few of these. I mean, We have a number of exclusive partnerships, two of which probably the most notable ones in terms of software are a partnership we have with Canva. So if you come to be a student at JMC, we're fully aware whether you're a music student, audio student, or anything like that, you need to be aware of, to a certain degree, about self-promotion and understanding how visual tools and visual aids can help enhance your career. And so Canva is a really perfect tool for that. It's quite user-friendly. I'm sure many of you are probably familiar with it, but all JMC students get a full subscription to Canva just by enrolling here. So they can use it from trimester 1 all the way through to trimester 6. But we do have units that also are embedded in our curriculum that actually use Canva as part of the assessment, building assessments, building presentations, and also using it as marketing tools as well. There's a number of different kind of industry partnerships we have, like with Roland, with Rode. Roland Cloud is one of the exclusive partnerships we have. You may or may not be familiar with Roland Cloud, but it's a really fantastic plugin that you can get for any DAW or DAW, a digital audio workstation, that is basically a digital representation of every synthesizer or keyboard that Roland has ever made or produced. Physically, it's a digital representation of that, and they're really, really good. The full samples and everything. It's a really, really amazing add-in as a production tool to be able to have that. We have that on all our MIDI Lab machines here on campus. That's available to use for all of our music students, and also our dedicated songwriting and production suites as well, which we call them suites because they're sort of like mini isolated little studios that you can work in for mixing or for recording and things like that too. But it's your own little space that you can use for recording and producing and things like that too. Thanks, Peter. Awesome. So collaboration is a big part of studying here at JMC. I'm going to talk to it from the point of view of music, but you really do need to look at, if you zoom out, you will actually see JMC students from all different streams of study collaborating with all kinds of other JMC students as well. From a music perspective, and I can also say from an audio perspective, that collaboration is quite tight with both of us. There are actually a number of assessments that JMC music students will work on with JMC audio students on the same kind of project for a shared kind of assessment outcome as well. But we also encourage our JMC music students to actually network and to work with the audio students anyway, because it's great practice. And it's a really good way. We mentioned that the fantastic studios that we have here that the audio students use. Our JMC music students frequently collaborate with audio students in order to be able to use those studios and to record in them, and so it happens quite a lot. JMC music students also collaborate with JMC film and television students on projects, music videos, live performances. In fact, our final trimester, we call it our large project recitals. Our final trimester project recitals are filmed in a multicam kind of setup by our film and television students, so that the JMC students actually get a live, film multicam performance of what they've been doing. And in fact, maybe that is a good segue, Peter. I subconsciously segued myself. I can share a video of some of those performances for you guys. So if I share my screen, no, you need to stop sharing, Peter, but keep it on that slide because we'll come back.
Yeah,
I'll share my screen with this. You guys can see this pretty soon. Here we go. Wait for it. There we go. Let's listen to this. This is an international student from Malaysia called...
Everybody put your hands together for Eliza Day.
Sorry, one sec. It skipped to a different video. Well done. Video. Let me play a different one for you. While I'm playing this one, I'll get Sheetal back for you. But this is a JMC student called Jackal Lewis. I'll play this for you here.
take me home, put me in your bathroom bowl. This song's about a pebble. What if your sister saw? You've always been quite sure the shore would get a little smaller. Waves would take what's theirs, but don't worry about me. I'm not the one who cares. I've been torn up by explosions, and I've flown in that black vacuum. I've been spat out of a mountain, under siege by oceans. Now I lie with all my brethren's shoulders, softened by the sea. This is all just temporary. Temporary.
All right. So that's Jack Lewis. He's one of our students from England. He was an international student, and he actually took the part-time option with studying with us while he was here. So he actually did the full bachelor, but stayed with us for a number of years, 3 years, to actually complete that degree. So we actually saw quite a lot of Jack during his time that he was here. I'll just see. Well, maybe I'll keep chatting, just given the time that we've got. But that's a good example of the different kinds of the way that we multicam film the variety of different recitals that we actually get. Let me see if I'll get this up. I've got it queued up here. This is Sheetal Pillai. This is a bit more rock and roll, this one. So here we go.
Silence between us is starting to feel louder than the words we scream. I take this chance, I don't make you mine. Taking in the fears I know, and knowing what I can barely say. So stand up, just gotta keep it running. Wake up, just tell me how I can never give up. These moments of beauty, just give me a reason to keep my heart beating. Don't worry, it's safe right here in my arms. Crying, it's time to save the weaker. Reaching for something, find it, I can see the edge. So look how far we made it. Pain, I can't escape it. Remember a time when I was on the outs and had nowhere to go. I know now that no matter how I start, I'd have to play my part all the way through. But where do I begin?
All right. Thank you, Sheetal. That was a really awesome set. That whole set was just pure rock from the beginning to the end. It was awesome. So we take a huge variety of different students in terms of musical styles across the course. There's, sensitive singer-songwriters, electronic music artists, all kinds of different styles, all different kinds of backgrounds that we get through the course. And the music course itself is quite, agnostic in terms of the way it approaches especially what kind of music that you guys want to produce, because we don't, there's no really set repertoire from about trimester 3 or 4 onwards. So for a GMI student, if you come into JMC at trimester 4, we'd be encouraging you to work on your own repertoire and your own sound from the get-go, because you've already had that foundational knowledge instilled in you with your time at GMI. So it's an opportunity to really jump right in, essentially, with your music studies. Do we have a little bit of time, Peter, if we can, to actually share the course slide? And I'll just quickly touch on what the pathway actually looks like for GMI students coming into JMC. That one, there we go. So this is essentially a bit of a graphic that'll show the course structure for you guys coming in directly into what is essentially halfway through our bachelor degree, entering into trimester 4. So if you successfully complete all the requirements of the Global Music Institute Artist Diploma, you will enter the JMC Bachelor in trimester 4. So as part of that course, you'll undertake, the first trimester, you'll undertake your major study unit, which would be a production focus, a songwriting focus, or a performance focus, because all of those different courses are actually embedded within our Bachelor of Music qualification in the curriculum. So what you're studying is a Bachelor of Music with a specialization in performance, songwriting, or production. So your major study unit is your one-on-one unit. It's where you would sit in with a teacher or a mentor to study production or songwriting, or maybe your individual instrument like guitar or vocals or drums or bass or whatever it might be. Alongside your weekly one-on-one unit that you'd study, you also would study a music collaboration unit, which could be an ensemble, which is very performance focused, or a collaborative recording project, which is more recording folio focused. They both work in the same way. You're put with a group of other like-minded musicians and you work on a project to develop original songs, or at least original arrangements of existing songs that are either submitted as a recording or performed in a live performance setting. Most of our live performances actually take place off campus. We do have some great performance facilities here on campus. Our auditorium is wonderful, but we do, in order to get you industry experience and actually performing in real venues, almost all of our performances that you would undertake with ensemble and so on are actually done at external venues around Melbourne. And Melbourne has such a great capacity and a reputation for live music. There's no shortage of really good venues to choose from. And we aim to give our students as much experience in those as we can. Alongside that, there's core units 2, music theory 4 and ear training 4. So these are really upper level music theory units that focus on elements of advanced harmony, jazz theory and things like that. And you also have 2 electives to choose from a pool over here on the top right. You might see those. There's those first 4 electives: music cultures, lyrics and songwriting, music production studies, and performing and creating with Ableton Live. The electives that you can choose from to take as part of trimester 4. In trimester 5 and 6, the course actually gets very elective focused. You'll see that there's actually only one core unit, an entrepreneurship in music, which is a music business and marketing unit that we encourage all our musicians to take. Another unit called Large Project 1, which is an amalgam of a major study and your collaborative project. But the difference is that instead of us kind of leading the way with repertoire and what you might decide to do in trimester 4 kind of level, at trimester 5, our students are really encouraged to take charge and develop a project, a musical project, that is a fantastic showcase of their abilities and what they want to do. So this could vary. It could be a performance focused kind of project with a big recital performance that's filmed as our other ones are at the end. Or it can also, or I should say, also contain elements of a recording folio, maybe collaboration with a film student, maybe collaboration on a mixed media project or a game, things like that. The sky is really the limit, and there's no limitation as to different options that you could potentially choose to deliver a musical product or some kind of expression of your musicality, your musicianship, your compositional skill, whatever it might be, as part of that large project unit. And as you can tell, there's a large project 1 and large project 2. So the intention is that large project actually encompasses 2 full trimesters of your study with us as well. On top of those units, you also get to choose 2 of these 6 larger elective units that we encourage students to take, which have more of a focus on specific areas of this specialization stream, such as lyrical influences or arranging and orchestration, history of Western music, tutoring techniques, composition techniques, and screen sound and music. And there's also the option to take internships as well outside of that across trimester 5 and 6, which are an application unit that we encourage students to apply for, but they also not only need to get approved by us, but also approved by our internship providers too. So it's the best of the best get to do the internships. And as Peter was talking about before, the international study tour is also an option as well. But that, in summary, that's the course that you'd be entering into in trimester 4. As you can tell, there's a huge degree of flexibility within the course and the focus of the course. So each of you can individually really develop what you want to develop in your innate musicianship and what you want to really get out of it as part of your career. Hence the idea of that large project unit is that it's a unit that you would undertake in order to actually have a tangible product or a tangible structure for something at the end of your degree, so that there is really no kind of transition from the end of the degree to beginning your career. You've actually already started in the development of your career whilst you're undertaking this degree. So we consider that large project unit to be invaluable as a launching pad for students to actually undertake their own career. But in a nutshell, that's the course in summary.
Thanks, Chris. I better jump in there. Sorry, we kind of jumped the queue a little bit with that, because Megha was going to talk about what comes first, which is the artist diploma, and I sort of directed things in the wrong direction. But Megha, over to you now.
Most of the people I can see in the group here today know about GMI, so I think it's all good. So they do understand, and I think this was a great slide that Chris really showcased, because this really gives a very good picture of how a student who's finishing 4 terms at GMI would be moving forward into the trimester 4. So for everybody who was thinking about, just to clarify, and I know Peter is going to talk about it a little more as well, how the programs at JMC are, you'll be entering basically the second year or the final year and have 3 trimesters to finish to get a degree once you have already done the artist diploma at GMI. Peter, why don't you just continue the flow? Since the flow is going on well, just be with it and I can come in and talk about GMI in the end.
Okay, it's just more opportunities for me to make technical errors.
It's all good. In the meanwhile, anybody in the audience here who has any question you can paste it on the chat box, and we'll obviously have a Q&A towards the end as well. But it'll be good to know in case if you have any specific questions right away, so we can look at them while we are having the session going on.
Okay, so a bit about our intakes. We do have 3 intakes a year in February, June, and September. So that's quite flexible. All the courses run and start at those points. Now, the 2- and 3-year bachelor degree program is not relevant to you, because there's just those 3 trimesters of study, which should take 1 year after transition or articulating from the GMI artist diploma. A little bit about the entry requirements. I think one of the things that you need to submit, and this is what we need to receive in order for us to be ensured that you have the highest possible chance of getting your visa approved, and one of them is a letter of intention. The second point, their minimum grades is not something that you really need to be concerned about, because you'll have completed your GMI course. And third is financials. It's one of the things that is required by the Australian government before issuing the visa, is to ensure that you have enough funds to stay in Australia, for the first year of study. For anybody who has needs any sort of upgrading of English, writing skills, particularly for some students who haven't written at the higher education level before, undergraduate level before, we do have partnerships with English schools. This just gives you an overview of the fees that are required to study at JMC. Now, these are the sort of full fees that you can see for a bachelor degree there, and that's per trimester. Although, given what's happened with COVID, a lot of fees have been reduced, and also for students coming through the JMC Pathway, there's a reduction of fees as well of a further 10% for GMI students, which makes it a bit more affordable. I've gone too far, I think. That's probably about all in that section about admissions, though. What I didn't talk about earlier on was the ability to work in Australia. So international students are able to work 20 hours a week, according to the terms of the student visa. Now, the Australian government recently announced no limit on work for international students temporarily as Australia recovers from COVID, like everywhere. They've decided to allow international students to work as much as they like now, which is great, but we also need to ensure that students are studying and not working all the time. So we also need to ensure that we're supporting you to succeed in your studies and not spending all the time working. Australia also has a post-study, I'll just turn this off now. Australia also has a post-study work visa. Students who complete a bachelor degree in Australia can stay and work full-time for 2 years, but that's only for students who spent a full 2 years studying their bachelor degree. Students who continue on and do a master's degree and potentially do the JMC master's degree are now able to stay in Australia for a further 3 years and study full-time. So that's a really attractive option. And I think it's going to become increasingly popular with our degree and other master's degrees. I showed you that there are 3 trimesters in a year. I think each trimester is 14 weeks, Chris, 12 face-to-face and 2 weeks, 2 assessment weeks. So that's all sort of fairly straightforward, really. It's probably, Megha, if you're okay, we'll go to question and answer now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think thank you both, Peter and Chris, for giving a great overview about the JMC Academy overall across the campuses, the facilities, the programs, what students get as opportunities there. Most importantly, the most interesting part, which is unique about the institute, is the interconnectedness between the creative courses that are running, which really allows a student of the music to, which Chris really shared very well about interacting with the audio students, with the film and television students, with photography and other aspects of versions, which is basically how one would be going out and about doing that in their life as well. So these are really the options that one gets, and especially in today's day and age, when the idea of how you're putting out your art, whether it's music or produced one or writing one, also is going hand in hand with what you're doing. This really comes in handy with all these state-of-the-art facilities and the options that the academy provides, plus all the software partnerships. Incidentally, GMI also just partnered with Roland Cloud, so even our students now will have that with them as part of their software support system, along with, of course, the Ableton that we have at our end. As we move forward, Canva is, of course, everybody knows about it, but it's great to know that you have an institutional partnership. Maybe we're going to write to them to try to do that as well back here. I know my team will be very excited to have that going, but it's a very relevant and a very important one, because in today's day and age that Chris was talking about, presenting yourself also is a very, very important aspect that one needs to function and focus on. And how we could see that even in your trimester 4, you have the component of music entrepreneurship, and that aspect also getting focused, which also happens to be a stream that is there as part of the program at GMI. So there's a lot of alignment, and that is the reason when Peter and us started talking about the possible idea for a partnership was because we could see that there's a lot of synergy and a lot of similarity in terms of how we all work and how in terms of our programs are, how are in terms of even the alignment of the intake times are. So even for GMI, there are 3 intake points. It's almost similar, February, not June, because June is very hot in India, especially in the northern part of India, but July, and accordingly then around November. So that's pretty much in alignment of how it is at Australia. But yeah, this is amazing. I feel this has been a very, very good info session. Since most of the participants here already are and aware of GMI, I think I'm going to skip my part of talking about GMI. Anybody who wishes to know about it, please reach out to us separately and we'll be happy to do that. But at this point of time, we're very happy to take in any specific questions that any of you might have that you'd like to ask. Maybe please, you're welcome to switch on your mic or a camera or write it in the chat box. And we'll be happy between Chris, Peter and I will be happy to answer them. I think probably the session was quite informative for them to have covered pretty much all the aspects. I know some of the production students here have.
Megha, I think someone has a question.
Oh yes, please. May I know who is that?
Hey, good morning, ma'am. Good evening, Peter and Chris. My name is Akash.
Would you like to switch on your video? Should I put you on the screen?
Cool. I can do that. Let me just. It was really nice to know about the JMC Academy and the process that you and the courses that you offer. It was really nice to know. But the thing is, I would like to know a little bit more about the audition process and if there is a merit-based scholarship model is there, if it's there in the JMC Academy, if you, maybe you can shed a little bit more light on that.
Great question. Peter or Chris, any one of you would like to?
Yeah, there is an audition component. Chris would probably be best to talk about what that is, how that works.
Well, the audition component actually is only really relevant to anyone who's joining from trimester 1. With the GMI pathway, we don't require you to audition because you've already completed the diploma. So if you've completed the GMI pathway, we trust that you're actually already pretty good. So it's not really an issue. We don't require any audition or anything like that. So yeah, that's the answer to that. With merit-based scholarships, I think that's probably in Peter's wheelhouse more than mine.
Yeah, it's the merit-based scholarship kicks in after 2 trimesters. So basically, it's normally for students that start in trimester 1, and we have a look at their average result over the first 2 trimesters. And for example, if you achieve a high distinction average over, which is the highest possible grade in most institutions in Australia, then there's a fee reduction. If you achieve a distinction average, which is 76 to 85%, Chris, you may confirm that. I think that's what it is. Anyway, yeah, there's another fee reduction, or a smaller fee reduction compared to, so it's $1,000 in the next trimester for achieving higher distinction. It's $500 in the next trimester for achieving distinction. Yeah, but we also sometimes have half scholarships, even full scholarships, if there's a really talented student coming through the partnership, and it's recommended to us that the student would otherwise have difficulty being able to afford to come to Australia to study, but they're very, very talented, then on a case-by-case basis, we'd have a look at that as well. We've done that before, yeah, elsewhere.
Thanks a lot. It was nice to know that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anybody else has any question?
I have a
Uh,
question actually. Okay, Ashwin, go ahead. I'll ask mine after that.
yeah, so my question is again, like Megha was going to continue for the like, will there be any pathway for the production students from GMI, and how can we pursue it? Yeah, so that's my question.
Peter, he's asking about something that we're in.
It was something that it is a big topic for us currently. Yeah, we're looking at. Nothing's been settled by any means, but we are looking at some options around that. In terms of pathway into the current music production course, Chris, do you have anything you could say about that? I mean, we haven't mapped it to the production stream.
Yeah, I don't know. We might have to talk offline about it because
Yes.
it just would depend on a number of things. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
all for it, but I just don't know. Yeah, it would depend on the theory. I mean, the technology production side of things is a no-brainer. That's a total home run. But I think that, yeah, the theory side of things we'd have to take a closer look at just to make sure. Yeah, you were entering the JMC course at that same Theory 4 level that you get through the music related diploma anyway. So yeah, but I'm sure we can do it. We could look at something. Hey.
Yeah, so I'd say, Ashwin, I think there could be two parts to the answer to this. One is, of course, the formalization of something. To say both JMC and GMI are quite keen to explore this. Let's put it this way, and we are seeing how best we can try to align that. Obviously, these things take a while because when you're mapping courses, you're looking at the content, the quality, how it's been delivered. Because mapping clearly means that what has been done here is equivalent to what is being expected when you're transferring to a place. So these things do require a multi-level kind of reviews. So that definitely, yes, we have started those conversations. We are in talks about it. In the meanwhile, since you are already someone who has finished the program of music production with us, we can talk offline about what are your possible, what you're trying to explore, and based upon what you have gone through, we can put out your application to JMC and see what best we can look at, even if there isn't a formalized one at this point of time. If there are some kind of, credit merits that can be given to some of the ones that you've already done, we allow you to get that kind of support, even if not on a formal pathway, let's say saying that directly to trimester 4, but somewhere, acknowledging and saying what best we can do about it. So we can definitely explore those options.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this.
Charita, you had a question. Right?
Yes, I actually wanted to know, are there a lot of Indian students presently enrolled at JMC? And if there's like a support that JMC provides for Indian students, are there a lot of sort of clubs, societies, something like that is present at the school presently?
Sarita, I think it's like 4 no's.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, I should have sort of given you a bit of a profile of our international students. So again, 2019 is the best sort of sample year because after COVID, things, when COVID came, things changed.
For sure.
But we had 260 internationals in 2019, of which they represented 44 different nationalities. So there was no big number from anywhere. And to the best of my memory, the most Indian students we ever had at one time was 12 or 13, and spread across different courses and different campuses. Yeah. Okay. So there are no specific, there's my team here in Melbourne provides great support for international students generally, but not for, specific nationalities. And there's no Indian student group as far as I'm aware.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe that was
we
3
do,
notes.
We do actually, we do have an Indian student in the music department currently, who was here. He started pre-COVID and then has stayed here the whole time as well, who's from Pune, I think, Brajesh, who's a drummer. He was actually in that clip. He was playing in Sheetal's band. So he's been with us since late 2019, I think he started, and has been on, as Peter mentioned before, on the 3-year program, which is why he's been with us for so long. But yeah.
But I think Australia in general is quite popular with Indian diaspora.
Has a big
So,
Indian population in general.
So there is obviously a sense of familiarity, and you may find a sense of comfort when one goes there, I feel, and especially all the 3 cities where JMC has their campuses are quite cosmopolitan in their approach. So being able to find and especially food these days is pretty something, and Indian food is anyway, which is quite popular. So finding the food, finding people, I don't think that's going to be so difficult. And I'm sure with music, a lot of people have got into the Indian music. So I feel that that's not something that should be a consideration of any negative kind for anybody. Should you wish to have some of your similarity of some kind, if you
I think Melbourne particularly now has a big Indian population.
Yes.
Yeah, a really big one. You haven't even mentioned the cricket either, which is it's a pretty big thing down here. I don't know if you guys know, but
of course,
yeah,
and Australia go a long way back.
Yeah.
And we had a common queen, so yes.
Yeah.
So
I think I've worked with, in my long history in international education, with institutions in the UK, in the US, Italy, Spain, France, Netherlands, I could go on. And I know that Australia is definitely the friendliest place to be, and the safest, really. So particularly, I guess if you're talking about gun crime and things like that, which guns are illegal in Australia, fortunately. But I think for safety and friendliness and just generally the environment, again, that's quite seriously, in my experience, working in national education, that's been the response from students.
I think one aspect that comes in from here, which probably we didn't touch upon, and some of the students may want to know, is about the housing in all the 3 location cities. What are the usual general options for students to go about that? Would you be able to share some info on that front?
The international admissions team, my team here, supports requests for accommodation by connecting the students with, student accommodation, student lodges, homestay, share housing, places where they can get assistance with share housing and things. The interesting thing, though, is that it seems to be, for some reason, the creative students, they seem to organize their, through student networks and forums and things before they even get to Australia. They seem to have got it pretty much sorted out. So it takes the pressure off us a bit. We just don't have that much demand for assistance with it. But however much assistance they need, we can give it to them.
That's good to know.
As a general observation, I mean, there are many options for student accommodation in Melbourne. It's a really big thing here because of the amount of institutions that are based in Melbourne too. So there's lots and lots of options. As Peter said, though, quite often our students might start in student accommodation, the usual kind of accommodation, but within a trimester or 2, they've moved out and into share house accommodation, which is far more affordable and a very friendly, situation to be in with other students. And in fact, we actually had some other Indian students from Pune there were a trio of them, and they came over here. This was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and they moved into their share house. And I don't know if I should be sharing it, but it very quickly became the most notorious party house on campus as well.
Yeah.
So there were many parties that were in that house, and it was also very close to campus. It was close, so it gained a bit of a reputation.
They were band members. They were members of the same band in India,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
they came as a
all flew
band.
over.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
No, that's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah, but share house, like, you know, share house accommodation and cost of living stuff in Australia is generally very affordable. Yeah.
And for everybody's reference, just to clarify, I'm assuming in the slide that Peter shared on the fee front of it, the dollar there meant Australian dollar. So
Yeah.
just make sure to account for that when you're looking at those numbers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else has anything? We are pretty much touching the time now, and I know it's getting late in the evening for both Peter and Chris. I wouldn't want to keep them waiting. Obviously, this is one of the first sessions that we are doing. Needless to say, we will be available to connect with. We have already been doing quite a few. I mean, we have started with one. We did one collaborative session about 2 weeks back, where we had the amazing team from JMC's studio present a workshop on miking. It was a fantastically produced workshop, which was done online with multi-cameras and the team seamlessly showing things with the audio sorted out and everything, which just goes to show the kind of, wherewithal that you all have to make things work, whether it's online or on the campus. And everybody who attended that session, I know for a fact, really enjoyed it and found it very productive. We do have few more sessions in the works and in the pipeline that we will be sharing and announcing soon. This is just the start of this. Keep a lookout for more info sessions, workshops, and once I know Peter used to travel to India almost every year, and I'm hoping that once these things kind of settle in and we are able to do these again, we'll soon have some of them come to here at the campus and hold some of these sessions and workshops at our campus as well. So and between us, we'll be more than happy to share our contacts and the details. Any one of you who would like to know more details and in specific talk about your progression path, you can reach out to us and we can specifically direct your questions and respond to them and find out a way for you to move and take this path forward. But thank you so much, Peter and Chris, for coming in and sharing and
welcome.
This workshop and the session. I am hoping all the participants here found this useful. I think with no further question coming in, we would like to then wrap up and say bye to everybody. And thank you once again. Any last words before we wrap up?
Oh, thanks for having us. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been fun.
It was really enjoyable. Yeah.
Yes, and likewise. I'm glad we could do this, and this is the first of the many that are around to come. So thank you. Both of you have a lovely evening.
Right.
Thank you to all the
Thanks.
participants.
And thank you everybody for attending.
Yeah, thanks for coming along. Have a nice day.
We'll see everybody around. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thanks so much,
Bye.
guys.